What's going on, guys? It's Greg here, aka NYPrepper. It is Sunday, October 15th, 2023, and I have an emergency update to share with you guys. Right now, it is 2:06 p.m. Eastern Time here in the United States. I wanted to update you on the situation in the Middle East. Last night we had several long emergency action messages that were broadcasted. These are nuclear attack options broadcasted by the Pentagon, and they go out to U.S. nuclear forces. So last night there were a bunch of these nuclear attack options broadcasted by the Pentagon. So that's pretty interesting. And it looks like the ground invasion of Gaza will be delayed. For how long and why, we have no idea, but all indications were pointing to a ground invasion last night, and that did not happen. Many people were saying that it was because of the weather. That's what the New York Times was saying, that the cloudiness was the main reason why Israel decided to delay their invasion. Some people were saying that the rain and flooding that occurred might have been a reason why, because Israel has to go into those tunnels that are in Gaza City and clear those tunnels out. And it's possible that those tunnels may have been flooded or could still be flooded. And that's apparently where Hamas has taken all of the Western hostages and Israeli hostages. Okay, they have a huge tunnel network underneath Gaza City, and it's probably a bigger tunnel network than what the Viet Cong had in the Vietnam War. I mean, they just have a massive tunnel network. And so Israeli forces and U.S. special forces would have to go into those tunnels and clear them out. And if it was raining, they probably got flooded. That's another theory. Another theory is that Israel wanted to give the civilians more time to evacuate. And that's what I personally think happened, is that I think that the West pressured Israel to hold off a couple of more days to allow for civilians to evacuate from northern Gaza and to get to southern Gaza. Okay, now the Israeli government has actually turned water on in southern Gaza, but northern Gaza remains completely cut off from water, utilities, gas, electricity, everything. Okay. But in southern Gaza, south of the Gaza River, they turn the water back on. Okay. So what Israel is doing is they're telling the civilians to get out of the northern half of Gaza and go to the southern half of Gaza, because in the southern half of Gaza, there will not be any combat operations. It's going to be in the northern part, okay, north of the Gaza River. So I think that the U.S. and various Western countries pressured Israel to give it a couple of more days and let all the civilians get out. And I think that Israel obliged, because obviously they get weapons from the U.S. They need the U.S. for weapons and support and military support, especially if the conflict escalates. They're going to need the U.S. to back them up if, say, Iran gets involved or something along those lines, or Hezbollah or whatever. Okay. So, they kind of have to play nice with the West to a certain extent. And tomorrow, the UN Security Council is going to be voting on a proposed ceasefire that Russia proposed it. So we'll see if it passes. I really doubt it will. I'm sure the U.S. is going to veto it, but Russia did propose a ceasefire between Israel and Hamas, and that's going to be voted on tomorrow by the UN Security Council. Okay, so I want to just go through the latest breaking news, but we need to be prepared. Okay, this conflict could escalate, and when I get through the news here, you'll see why I think the conflict is going to escalate. But make sure you have your bug out bag prepared and ready to go. Make sure you have a nuclear war survival plan, which includes a fallout shelter. A fallout shelter should be the central part of any nuclear war survival plan. But make sure you have a bug out bag. Bring it with you if you travel far from your home. Be alert when you go out in public. Okay, be aware of your surroundings because global jihad has already been declared and there's no expiration date on that. Okay, I know that everybody was expecting Friday to be this big day, but there's no expiration on this. Okay, so it could happen tomorrow. There could be just random terror attacks in various places. So you need to remain vigilant. You need to have that same mentality that we did after 9/11. Okay, you need to have that same mentality of being aware of your surroundings, making sure that you know where the nearest exits are, knowing where cover and concealment are, and carry a self-defense tool on your person at all times if it's legal to do so where you go. Okay, so let me get through some of the news here. The U.S. Embassy in Israel has released another security alert. This is the 10th security alert. They're going to be evacuating U.S. nationals starting tomorrow morning from a port in Israel, in Haifa. I know I'm probably saying that wrong, but they're going to use a ship to get people out, and it's going to go to Cyprus, okay? Boarding begins 8 a.m. local time. U.S. citizens must arrive at the Haifa port passenger terminal no later than 9 a.m. local time. Boarding will proceed in order of arrival and is on a space-limited basis. All right, so they're using ships now to get U.S. citizens out. Before they were using planes. Now they're using ships. We have some concerning information coming from a senior Israeli official, and this senior Israeli official announced that they have intelligence that indicates that Iran is attempting to move strategic weapons into Syria in order to open another front against Israel. Okay, so you see where this is going, guys? All right. And Iran's state news agency has been putting out these advertisements on the TVs in Iran, asking people to volunteer for a war against Israel. They're asking for up to 1 million volunteers, okay, which is basically a massive army that they're trying to make, okay? So strategic weapons might be moved into Syria to open another front against Israel. What does strategic weapons mean? They're talking about ballistic missiles, okay? They're going to bring in heavy firepower into Syria so they can basically start to target Israeli bases, Israeli Air Force planes, Israeli air bases, okay? So that's huge and very concerning. The Wall Street Journal is reporting that the Iranian army is moving its fighters to the Syrian border with Israel, okay? So they're moving their forces into Syria towards the border with Israel, okay? The Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps has moved their fighters, okay? That's the Iranian army, okay, to the Syrian border with Israel. So that is very concerning. We also have some concerning news that Iranian militias in Syria have advanced towards Damascus and the border with Israel. Okay, so the Iranian army is moving towards Israel. Iranian militias in Syria are moving towards Israel. And I want to read to you what Iran's Minister of Foreign Affairs recently said. He's been making his rounds across the Middle East. He went to Iraq. He went to Lebanon. He met with the leaders of Hamas. He's now in Qatar. I think he was in Saudi Arabia also. He's trying to form a coalition against Israel, basically, is what this foreign minister is doing. But let me read to you his latest statements. Okay, he issued an ultimatum to Israel. There is an opportunity for Israel to make amends in the coming hours. If not, the resistance will enhance its strategies and change the map of the region. Okay, the resistance, he's talking about all of the Muslim countries. He's calling that the resistance. So He's saying that they will change the map of the region if Israel doesn't make amends in the coming hours. We have the U.S. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan telling CBS that it cannot be ruled out that Iran will choose to engage directly in some way. Okay, that's the National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan. All right. The Iranian foreign minister said that during his meeting in Lebanon, he learned that all scenarios were put on the table. He spoke with the leader of Hezbollah, Syed Hassan Nasrallah, and he said that all scenarios were put on the table. Okay, so he met with the leaders of Hezbollah, the leader of Hezbollah, and they're saying all scenarios on the table, meaning Hezbollah is going to invade simultaneously while Iran invades and while Iranian militias in Syria invade. So it's going to be a multi-front war, guys, okay? And he also said, we hope that political efforts will prevent the war from expanding. Otherwise, no one knows what will happen in the next hour. If Israeli attacks on defenseless civilians and residents of Gaza continue, no one will be able to guarantee control of the situation and not the expansion of the conflict. Okay? So, both sides are making it very clear what will happen. Okay, the U.S. has warned Iran and warned Hezbollah and warned everybody, do not take advantage of the situation. That's why the U.S. moved they're moving two aircraft carriers. There's one already next to Israel, and there's a second aircraft carrier strike group going to Israel. Two aircraft carrier strike groups will be off the coast of Israel probably in about a week. Okay. Two strike groups, guys. Okay. Each strike group not only has the aircraft carrier, it has guided missile cruisers, guided missile destroyers, some kind of attack sub, at least 75 fighter jets. I mean, it's a massive force, okay? They wouldn't move two carrier strike groups for no reason, all right? And then there's that empty one that I mentioned, the USS George Washington that took off from Norfolk a few days ago, an empty aircraft carrier that's going to be going to the region, possibly also the British Prince of Wales, HMS Prince of Wales aircraft carrier as well. And then you have those 24 F-15 Strike Eagles that were moved to the region, and those are nuclear-capable fighter jets, okay? So the U.S. is warning not to get involved. Biden warned them. Lloyd Austin warned them. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken has been warning them. I mean, it's just clear as day. Do not get involved, okay? And now Iran and all these other countries allied with Iran are saying that, if Israel doesn't halt their campaign, then they're going to get involved. So both sides are not backing down, okay? And this is why you need to be prepared and make sure you're ready, okay? Top off all of your preps. Get everything you need now, because once things escalate, it's going to be too late, okay? It's going to happen too fast, and panic buying is going to set in, and you're not going to be able to find the things that you used to be able to find that you really need. So we've had some clashes along the northern border of Israel with Lebanon. There's been clashes between Hezbollah and the Israeli military. Apparently, Hezbollah captured an Israeli military outpost at Al-Raheb and raised their flag over the outpost. And Israeli media reported that Hezbollah targeted another Merkava tank with a Kornet-guided missile in northern Israel today. There have been small clashes between Hezbollah and the Israeli army overnight and this morning. And apparently there were 5 casualties reported in that situation. More than 30 rockets were fired from southern Lebanon towards northern Israel this morning, and this was reported by an Israeli army radio operator. 8 people were injured in a rocket attack from Lebanon, 4 of them in serious condition. And currently there's heavy shooting being reported near the Kiryat Shmona settlement on the border with Lebanon, ongoing between the Israeli army and Hezbollah. There's reports that an Israeli Air Force Apache helicopter is currently launching missiles at Hezbollah positions over the border of southern Lebanon. And the Israeli army is reporting that Hezbollah has been shooting at their camera pods mounted along their border fence near the Metula and Kiryat Shmona areas, and apparently Hezbollah disabled 10 of their cameras. And Hezbollah sources told Lebanese media that their attacks today in northern Israel had the purpose of blinding the Israeli warning system along the border, which includes radars, thermal cameras, and motion detectors. And the IDF has created a 4-kilometer no-go zone along the Lebanon border. And the Israeli Airport Authority has published a notice regarding the closure of the airspace within a 10-kilometer radius of the borders of Lebanon and Syria. Okay, so the situation with Lebanon and northern Israel is slowly escalating, and Hezbollah already took out 2 major radar stations in northern Israel. Okay, so why are they doing that? Because they're getting ready to invade from the north, and they want to basically blind Israel's early warning system. They clearly said that. Okay, so that means they're getting ready to invade, guys. That's what they're doing. They're getting ready to invade. And before I continue with the rest of the news, I want to mention the sponsor for this video, which is My Patriot Supply. Guys, we're living in crazy times, and it's important to have an emergency food supply. And My Patriot Supply has a 3-month emergency food supply. And if you use my link, which is in the description below this video, you can save 25% off of their 3-month emergency food supply. The link is preparewithNYPrepper.com. And this 3-month emergency food supply comes in 6 rugged, water-resistant buckets. They're about the size of a 5-gallon bucket, so they don't take up a lot of space. You can easily stow this food, and you know that you're set for 3 months if there's an EMP, if there's World War III, if there's a nuclear war. And this food will last up to 25 years if stored in a temperature-stable environment. They also have a 2-week emergency food supply, which I recommend everybody has at least 2 weeks of food on hand, because if there's a nuclear war, you would have to shelter in place in your basement for 2 weeks while you wait for the radiation to subside outside. So you would need some food during that period. So they have the 2-week emergency food supply. They also have an entire store. If you click on the logo in the top left portion of the web page, you can get to their store, and they sell everything. They have all kinds of survival and prepping supplies, so check them out. Use my link, preparewithNYPrepper.com, to get 25% off. So we had some Russian Doomsday planes and VIP planes active last night, and they were going east towards Siberia. And one of them in particular was going to the Altai Mountains. And we know that there's a lot of doomsday bunkers in the Altai Mountains. And yesterday, we also had Russian doomsday planes go to the Altai Mountains as well. So here we have the flight paths of those doomsday planes and VIP planes. This was late last night. Here's the doomsday planes going to and from Gorno-Altaysk, okay, which is in the Altai Mountains. Okay, down over here, close to Mongolia, there's a mountain range known as the Altai Mountains, and the Russian government has doomsday bunkers over there. And this is the second time in the last 2 days that Russian doomsday planes were going to the Altai Mountains. Okay, and here's from yesterday, October the 14th, the Russian doomsday planes going to the Altai Mountains and then going back from the Altai Mountains. So what I think is going on, this is just my opinion, is that Russia is moving VIPs from Moscow to these bunkers in the Altai Mountains, okay? They're relocating very important people, parliament members, cabinet members. They're relocating them to these bunkers because something might happen soon, okay? So this is very concerning. And we had a U.S. Air Force VIP plane travel from Ramstein to Israel last night. This is a Boeing C-40B, which is used to transport generals. Okay, so very interesting. Some top generals going to Israel last night. We had multiple C-17s and aerial refuelers taking off from the U.S. last night and going to the Middle East. You can see here 2 C-17s and 2 Stratotankers, and this is just a small sample. I mean, there were probably a dozen of these airborne last night taking off from the U.S., going to the Middle East, bringing equipment, various types of weapons for Israel. And here we have some more of those C-17s going into Israel here, okay? And here's a Lockheed Martin C-130 Hercules going to Israel from Cyprus. And here we have a Royal Thai Air Force plane going to Israel, probably to evacuate civilians. We have the U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken arriving in Egypt for talks with the Egyptian president. We have rumors circulating on social media that Russia planned this attack on Israel for some time and that Hamas was paid with cryptocurrency to carry out the attack in order to distract the West from the war in Ukraine. And this is being claimed by Rebecca Koffler, a former U.S. Department of Defense intelligence officer and Russia expert. She said she has solid evidence of Moscow being involved in the attack on Israel by Hamas. She said she is still working through all the details, but will release an official report on Fox News on Monday that will reveal all the details. Okay, that's pretty crazy. Britain's foreign minister told Sky News that it is not an unreasonable estimate to say that more than 10 British citizens have been taken hostage by Hamas. So there's a lot of Western hostages in the Gaza Strip right now. Okay, they didn't just take Israelis hostage; they took Westerners hostage. Okay, and that could be why they delayed this ground invasion, because they don't want them to execute the hostages. They want to have enough time to go in there and take out the hostage takers. Okay, so that could be one reason why they delayed it. But when this ground invasion starts, when the actual campaign, the main portion of the campaign on Gaza starts, you can count on me to provide regular updates throughout the day. And also, I will go live 24/7 if I have to when this ground campaign and when this attack on Gaza starts, because I personally believe that as soon as Israel starts their ground campaign, I think Hezbollah is going to go in. I think Iranian militias in Syria are going to go into Israel. And I think Iran is going to go in as well, either with ground forces or with missiles. They're going to start launching missiles at important targets in Israel. They're going to target Israeli military bases, okay? And then that's when America is going to get involved, and America is going to start carpet bombing Hezbollah. They're going to start carpet bombing the Iranian militias in Syria, and then they're going to potentially strike Iran and try to do a decapitation strike on Iran, okay? So, that's pretty much it for this one, guys. Please keep the people of Israel in your prayers. They're going through a lot right now. It's a very sad situation, what's going on. So keep the people of Israel in your prayers. And other than that, I'll keep you guys updated. I'll be doing another update this evening. So until then, take care. God bless. And don't forget the 3 Ps: prepare, practice, and persevere.